Greetings, friends. I want to share a story with you that's found in all three of the synoptic gospels. The synoptic gospels are Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And John is kind of put over as the fourth gospel in his own category. And the synoptic gospels share many of the same stories. And the story I'm going to share with you now about this outcast, this leper. But I want to talk just for a moment about leprosy. I've seen leprosy in India. I've been in. We support a ministry there with churches in about 50 leper colonies. I've seen lepers in Africa. We prayed for lepers, and the leprosy it's a hideous disease. It looks horrible and kills people. They lose extremities and so on. But it's not as contagious as people thought it was in the Bible times. You know, it's somewhat contagious, but if you live around it for long periods of time, the doctors will tell you you can contract it, and it can be fatal in some cases. But if you just wash your hands and so on, it's not life threatening. And so I've known that, and I've ministered to lepers. But in the time of Jesus, to be a leper was an outward sign of your unredeemable sinful condition. The leprosy, whether you were a king or a businessman or a priest, if you had leprosy, you were an outcast, and you were isolated. You could only associate with other lepers. But they believed that even the air you breathed was contaminated. They didn't want you around, so you had to go. So you lost your family, you lost your job, you lost your church community, you lost your culture, you lost everything, and you were on your own. And it was interesting because even if you were coming into a place where there were people, you had to proclaim your status as a leper so people could get away or tell you to get away. It was an isolated life. And the lepers understood this. They understood their role, and they understood they couldn't associate with anybody. And yet in the first chapter of Mark, we find Jesus coming along, and this leper has to approach him. Now, he knew the rubric. He knew the rule, the leper, that he couldn't associate. But he also knew that this Jesus had the capacity, as he had heard somewhere along the line, to heal and restore. So finally, he breaks the rules, and he comes up to Jesus, and he kneels at the feet of Jesus, which was totally unheard of, unacceptable. But that's what he did because he was desperate. Say that. He was desperate. He had nowhere else to go. And in some texts, it says Jesus was indignant. But the word there gets translated into this. He was compassionate. He felt pain, compassion for this leper. And so the leper kneels and he says, Jesus, can you heal me? Will you heal me? Will you heal me? And Jesus says, I am willing. Puts his hand on his head, and he's completely healed. Now think about it. In that moment, the power of Jesus goes out and restores this man to a normal life. And then he says, now go and show yourself to the priest. Go directly to the priest. Let him examine you, because the priest, as it said in Leviticus, had the responsibility to declare a person with leprosy or not. I want you to go show yourself, so he'll know that you're clean, that you don't have leprosy, but don't go tell anybody. Because Jesus understood that if this leper goes and says, I am healed of leprosy, they're going to try to make Jesus king. So what does the leper do? He can't contain himself. He's too excited. He's exuberant. He's overjoyed. And he starts to tell everybody about, I was a leper, but I've been healed. I've been healed. In fact, he goes on that at the end of the chapter, it says Jesus had to contain his ministry and go into more remote places because he was afraid that people would react in one way or another to what had happened to this leper. But I just want you to pause for a moment and think about two things. A, the desperation. This leper knew that this was his one shot to go to the source, the power of restoration and healing, Jesus Christ. And he did whatever he had to do to go and get that moment with Jesus for healing. And when he had it, he simply said, will you heal me? And what did Jesus say? I am willing. So I want you to understand the second part, that he began to share his experience, to bear witness to it, to tell everybody that would listen. I was once lost, but now I'm saved. I once was a leper, but now I'm cleansed. And that should be a model for all of us. When Jesus touches our life with the simple thing of redeeming us from our sin to give us a place in heaven for eternity, that should excite all of us. That we would declare it from the rooftops and shout it out loud to anyone that would listen. Why? Because in that moment of desperation, restoration came. And restoration creates, joy and happiness, elation. Is that the way you view the healing of your sin from Jesus, who shed his blood for you and not only redeemed you of your sin, but gives you the gift of everlasting life? Are you having the same kind of spontaneous, joy and excitement that the leper had? Let's back up even further. Have you found yourself on your knees before Jesus, asking him out of desperation for anything? Redemption, healing, restoration? What has driven you to that place of need? And I promise you, if you say, Jesus, are you willing? He loves you with the same compassion he had for that leper in Mark chapter 1. And he will touch you and he will restore you, because that's the Jesus we serve. That's the Jesus who loved you so much that he went to that cross and died for your sin that you could live with him forever. Don't hold back. Don't hold back. If Jesus, he's near. He's right here with you right now. Fall on your knees and ask him, Jesus, are you willing? For whatever, fill in the blank. And watch what happens. Watch what happens. I hope this has been helpful. If you want to hit the comment button, share a comment, I'll answer you, or go to my my webpage, paulteskyministries.com. I'll answer your prayer request. I'm here for you because I have a sense of compassion for you too. I care about you. That's why I do this twice a week, because I care about you. Go in peace. Go in peace and serve the Lord. Amen? And all God's people said, amen.